Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to have a wonderful time today. I'm so excited about this interview. Thank you so much for joining us. While we wait for our guests, why don't you guys write down on the comments where you're joining from? Just giving a few seconds. Hi.
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 How are you?
Hello. How are you?
Good.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited, like a little girl, Christmas morning, thinking about you guys all week. Thank you so much.
I wish like everyone thought that
I
about
mean,
us,
my
really.
goodness, you know.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So, how are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Great now
I
that we're
am
talking to you.
great. I mean, are you kidding me? This is a bookworm's dream. You know, when you love reading and you get to connect with the authors, it is such an amazing experience. I'm so glad to meet you both.
By the way, thank you so much for, not only supporting us and buying the book, but writing such a rave review. It was really, really special.
Oh,
Who
thank
takes the time to do that these days?
you. You know,
It's
I
just
tell
incredible.
I'll let you in on a little secret. So when I write book reviews, and they're usually endorsements because I don't give bad reviews, but I can't write a review unless I love the book.
Well, let me tell
So
you, Dia, it's the same thing in our service. We can't find love for someone we don't like.
exactly, you have to connect. So I did connect with your book. But before we start, I wanted to let everyone know who you guys are. Okay, so I'm going to read what's in the back of the book so people don't think I'm making anything up because you guys are so wonderful that one would think we're making this up. So I'm going to start with you, Rory. And it says here that after having attended FIT, Rory Sassoon co-founded Platinum Poir, a VIP-only invite a power player matchmaking service that aims to create lasting relationships for elite singles looking for a secure and discreet way to meet others of equal caliber. Rory has become an expert resource on relationships and has given valuable advice within numerous publications such as New York Times, Cosmopolitan, Marie Claire, Refinery 29, People, InStyle, Bustle, Bravo, Insider, Elite Daily, and
I'm
more.
embarrassed already.
My goodness, it's amazing. She appears on season 10 and season 11 of Bravo's Real Housewives of New York, along with appearances on Fox Good Day New York, ABC, and WPIX. Now let's go to Dr. Errol Gluck. Dr. Errol Gluck is the co-founder of Platinum Poir. In addition to being the CEO of Gluck Mediation Services, he attended Brooklyn College and Logos Graduate School. He has appeared as an expert speaker on MSNBC, as well as a paid consultant and mediator for Deloitte and Touche. Currently, he's a radio personality for OOR. So this is amazing. I am so happy to have you here. So everyone, let's officially welcome the lovely and beautiful Rori Sassoon and Dr. Errol Gluck. Thank you.
Thank you. That was such a nice.
So you can ask any question, period. No
I
holds
have
barred.
so many questions for you, and some of them are a little bit loaded. Some of them, I'm going to go off on a couple of tangents, but I think you guys will be able to piece it all together.
No problem.
I am so excited. Everyone, welcome for joining us. If you're joining us, let us know where you're joining from so we know where you are. Okay, so I wanted to start with the actual book because as a serious bookworm, this is what I do. I not only love reading the book, but I love to look at the way it looks like. I just love it. It is beautiful. I wanted to say that the cover art is by Chris Riggs, right? We want to give credit.
Yes,
credit
yes,
due.
Chris was unbelievable.
And the cover design is by Lori Sarway. Is that how I pronounce her
Yes,
name?
Lori Sarway. Actually, her mom, I think, is on, Erica. She worked for me for a while. She majored in, graphics design, and she was fantastic in putting together this piece of art, literally.
It is absolutely beautiful. And I know my copy is probably backwards because my camera is turned around somehow. Can't figure it out. But you still get the picture. So I want to talk about the cover. All of these colors made me feel like this book is for everybody, right? It includes
100%, of course.
Also, I noticed the word love a lot, and I noticed a faint white heart behind the title of The Art of the Date. Then I went on to opening the pages and I noticed, oh, here's another heart, the art of the date, which is perfect because it is the love month. So I love this. But I'm going to ask you, Rori, would you please grace us with the words of wisdom that are on the dedication page right before the introduction? Would you read that to us for us?
Sure, of course. Let's see where we are. Dedication page. Love is the most potent force of healing, of pleasure, and of creating. This book is dedicated to actualizing your ability to find that true love that will change your life unlike anything that you have ever experienced. We will celebrate with you every step of the way. This book is for you and everyone who you believe needs to find and keep true love.
Wow. I love this introduction. Let me tell you why it caught my attention right away. I read a lot, but I have never read a paragraph that starts and ends with the same word. And in this case was the word love. Was that
right.
accidental?
Actually, it was not accidental.
Okay. I love that.
Because
I immediately thought, oh,
think about the word love. Like it's used in so many different contexts. Like I love this, I love you. Like we throw around that word so like easily. But when we were creating this book, it was obviously based on, just so you know, everyone out there should know this. You know, Dia, that Dr. Gluck and I met. I was his client. I came to him as a coaching client, and you know, I had some anxieties with driving on highways, and he is also somebody who is the best when it comes to medical hypnosis. So outside of 3 months, I was cured and good to go. But I also was saying to myself, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I was 37. Thank God it wasn't really about financial. I didn't really need to do it for financial reasons, but I really wanted to contribute to the world and figure what can I do at this age with a full family, a husband. Like, what was it that I wanted to do with the rest of my life? And I asked him, so now that I'm cured, like, this is just the beginning. Now let's talk about all the things that you do for other people. And obviously here we are. What is it?
So I jumped
8 years
in
older, right?
because I have trained scores of doctors and psychologists, and you know what? Rori is simply a natural. And she sucked up the training because she's already empathetic. She genuinely likes people. She likes to solve problems. So she was literally my best student up to this day.
I agree with you, and I think this is why I connected with you, Rori. I have watched a few of your interviews on the podcast, just love your energy. I think that you bring to the book, the book is actually, about human connection, right? When we talk about love, it is human connection. So it is fun, it is classy, it's realistic, which is really important. But there is somewhat a tone of old-fashioned, which I really loved. And the reason why I loved it is because when I kept reading the book, 3 words came to mind. Take your time. Okay. Mm-hmm. And time is an expression of love. If I said, Rori, I was just at the store and I saw this, could have been something small, as like your favorite ice cream flavor, and I thought I would bring you a cup of ice cream, you would have, wow, she made the time for me.
Right. That's love,
right?
Of course. That's 100% love.
So this is why I connected with the book so much.
So now, I'm going to add this to it. Because I love the fact you brought it out. Patience is a sign of love.
Yes.
Everyone thinks that jumping right into something 100% is love. No, it's more lust.
Yes.
But having the patience to really get to know someone and let them getting to know you and not being so picayune, that's love.
Absolutely. So let's get into the book a little bit. Okay. So you say in the book that in order to master any facet of dating, one must know thyself first. Rori, I want you to talk to us about that and give us the reason why that is so important.
I always say, in order to be successful in a relationship, like, you have to know what you don't want first in order for you to know what you do, right? So it's the same thing. It's like saying, it's the same thing in saying, like, I know that I don't want these qualities in a person. And like, that's like off my radar, but I know that this person is someone that I'm going to give a chance to. That it might not be, we all get so caught up in what we think we want. But at the end of the day, like, and especially through this pandemic of people learning that, you know what, I thought I wanted this, I thought I wanted that, but you become lonely, and you also realize that you never gave people a chance. And to me, I think that's knowing yourself and really knowing yourself. Like we always say, if you have to love yourself in order for you to love someone else. If I'm not good to me and I'm not loving me and I'm not taking care of me, I can't be good to you.
Right. And I wanted to add something important too, because I feel that I love what you said. It's right. It's spot on. Because here's the thing, you know, I think that when you know yourself, right, you still have to know when you get into a relationship, you have to be realistic about the fact that you're still going to have to learn about the dynamics between you and someone else. So even though you know yourself well, they're still going to have to deal with that new experience, right?
But imagine if you don't know yourself well,
right? That it makes it a lot worse, right? It makes
and if you don't know yourself, you could get absorbed by the relationship and lose yourself.
Yes.
And that's why when people break up, you know, some are ready to jump off the bridge and the other person dusts themselves off. See, tomorrow's another day.
Yes. And you know what? Here's something that I heard a while ago by a coach, marriage crisis coach by the name of Jeff Bukowski. He's also an author. He said something so profound. He says, marriages don't get better. People do. And I think that's true for all relationships.
I like that.
We get better, right? We do the work on ourselves. We get better. And then it's not just with your husband or your boyfriend. It's with your coworkers, your boss, with your family
children,
members,
your friends,
right?
everybody.
Everyone. So moving on, Dr. Gluck, I have a loaded question for you. It's a 3-part question.
I love it. You know, what size gun?
It's a 3-part question. Okay, so I'm going to say the question, all of the questions first, and we'll go back and you break it down for us.
Good.
Number 1, you spoke about neuroplasticity in the book. I want you to tell everyone what that is. Number 2, I wanted to tell us how hypnosis uses neuroplasticity to improve the way we think, feel, and behave, and how in turn that helps us improve how we relate to others. So tell us what neuroplasticity is.
Okay, great. Neuroplasticity is something that was actually founded in the early 70s by the AMA. And prior to that, they believed that the brain had different parts, had the ability to simply respond to neurological signals, and that was fixed. Okay. So neuroplasticity simply means the brain can be rewired from the rational brain. This is the rational brain, has no anxiety, no fear, no depression, very creative. Einstein called it the God brain.
Okay.
However, we're born with the top of the head. It's called the mammal brain. Every person and every animal has that mammal brain. The mammal brain is OCD from birth, jealous, competitive. It is the worst of us. You know, highly emotional, not rational at all. So in neuroplasticity, what you're doing is you're actually rewiring the neural networks. Okay. Kind of just think like the train. You're rewiring the brain so that those traits that are creative, that are positive, that are not judgmental, that are loving, that are self-loving, that they will dominate the person's character, life, and behavior.
Okay, so when you say rewiring, that's the part of that's where hypnosis comes in. You're rewiring
that's where the hypnosis comes in. Correct.
Okay, so tell us how by rewiring someone's thought pattern, how does that improve the way we relate to others?
Well, what happens is all of a sudden you're not competing against another person. You're appreciating another person. So I want you to do this for me. Okay? Who has your fingerprints outside of you?
Myself. No one.
Who has your voice print? No one.
No one.
Who has your toe print? No one.
No one.
Your eye print, your iris print? No one. You're not competing against anyone. You have your own destiny, your own piece of canvas. And once you accept that, life is exciting because there's no competition.
Okay. Very good. So can I ask you, before we go into the next question, are you able to move your camera just back a little bit so I can see both of you? Because you're sort of in and out of it. Is there any way to see?
That.
There you go. That's a lot better. There you go. Because I want everybody to see who you are. So Rori, I have a question for you. So now, not everyone can be hypnotized. Not everyone can go to
No, everyone can.
No, what I mean is, like, not everyone has the opportunity. Not
right,
everyone
correct.
can. Not everyone has the opportunity or the financial means to go to see Dr. Gluck, for example. And so in your opinion, what are some other ways that people can improve themselves?
As far as you're saying in their love life, or?
Well, in general, well, in their love life, I got to say, get this book, run and order this book because it's fabulous. But other ways, are there other ways that people can, like, let's say tools? What other things people can do in general in the relationship? We're going to talk about relationship today, but in general, for their, let's say, their
soul.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, like, I don't know, to me, I always feel, for me, I'm very spiritual in the sense where I know when I had a really bad experience in 2007, I just really, I found comfort in prayer. And for me, that's something that people meditate every day, they work out every day, but that's something, Dia, that I've been taught to pray every day, but it needed to come to me on my own time. And, you know, my conversation daily that I have with God was something that really kind of helped me and really gave me the strength to be able to get over the things that I really needed to deal with. And I started to really respect myself even more, to know that I was having that discipline every day, no matter what happens. Every morning, it's 15 minutes. I think for all the great things I have in my life, and I'm very grateful, I feel that God deserves my 15 minutes every day.
That's a great answer.
That was something till this day. Like I said, since 2007, I have not missed a day.
And, you know, I think that, you know, self-worth, our own sense of self-worth, and the way that we get better, it has to be intentional. You make a decision one day that you're going to do better, and you do, and then you find ways. I also, in my life, I find that whenever I say, you know what, I'm going to do better, all of a sudden there's a book, there is a post, or somebody shows up in my life. It seems like it's an accident, but it really isn't.
There's no coincidence.
Our connection with something that's greater than ourselves oftentimes really connect us with the things that are meant to be for us. I really believe that.
Yeah, no,
I wanted to go into the book a little more, and I wanted to talk about something that was on the very first chapter. Dr. Gluck, I'm going to go back to you, but I want to stay with Rori just a little bit more. Rori, tell us something about body language, because you said body language can make or break a first impression. Can you tell us a little more about that?
So when you're going on a date and you're meeting someone for the first time, especially it's of a romantic situation, right? Okay. So think about it. Like, as a woman, you want to always tell women, there's nothing better. It's something you can't buy.
Okay.
It's sex appeal. You either have it or you don't have it, right? So let's say if it's something you really don't have, but you want to work on, maybe let's be more aware. You can take the most gorgeous girl, but she has no sex appeal. And it's all about confidence. I've seen women who are not thin or the most beautiful, but wow, when they walk into a room, they own it, they have confidence, and they have sex appeal. Okay. So talk about body language. Walk, you know, when you're having nice posture, you feel your chest is open, you feel confident, you're like, hey, this girl is ready to take on the world. What man doesn't like that? An insecure one.
Right. Okay, can you give me some of the don'ts, right? Because there are a lot of don'ts on a first date when you're trying to make that first impression. Can you tell us in the book you say something like, don't smell like capers, or on the first date, don't show your cleavage, right? Give everything to the guy right on the first
don't
date.
Like give it all up front.
Don't give it all away. Can you give us some don'ts?
Yes, like don't talk about anything negative. If there's something going on in your life, it's your ex-husband, your ex-girl, whatever it might be, don't bring that baggage into this evening. Okay. Be positive. Talk about all the happy things that you enjoy, that you want to do in your life, your passions, your job, if that's something you're really passionate about. And also ask about the other person. Okay. A lot of times people don't want to listen. They just want to vomit everything vomit their stuff out. Like, we're not dating the therapist. And people think that.
Okay. Dr. Gluck, I'm going to go. You guys are so cute and so funny. There's so many cute guys. By the way, if you're watching, you need to understand that even though I'm going to ask a lot of questions and we're talking about a lot of things, there is so much more in this book. And if you read between the lines, you're going to get so much out of it. So definitely get the book. You're going to be very pleasantly surprised. Dr. Gluck, okay, so Rori talks also in the first chapter about chemistry. She says, chemistry has to be cultivated, and it is the first positive reaction to someone. Now, I'm going on a tangent, and I need you to pay attention to me because it won't make any sense at all. But I want you to stay with me for a comparison that I'm going to make. And then I'm going to break down the question, and have you follow with me. So bear with me. I want everyone to imagine that we are looking through the eyes of a robot. Okay, when you see these movies and they put you behind the goggles of a robot, imagine that that robot is programmed to identify threat. So if something is threatening, that light goes green. If something is not threatening, if something's threatening, the light goes red.
Right.
If something is not threatening, obviously the light goes green. So the robot looks through those lenses and they will see objects. Let's say they pan in and see a man. And right at the upper left corner of the goggles, you see the little letters will pop in, right? And it'll collect data. Male, 6'2", dark hair, dark eyes, wearing jeans. That is the information that the robot collects. Collected data. If that data seems like a threat, an alarm will go off, bam, 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 and the light will go red, right? And if it's not, it will go green, and that man is free to go. Okay, now, back to people. We're not robots, but our experiences sort of pre-program us in the way that we interact with the world around us, right? So here we go. Now, I want to say that chemistry, it is a visual but subconscious way that we process body language. I want to specify the body language here. It's not just the way you act. It's the way you eat, the way you dress, everything that you put into that date, because body language is the way it's a setting, right? We are talking about a certain setting. You're going to make first impressions. So what we're doing is behavior in an environment, right? Body language is a certain behavior in a certain environment. Not in this place, we say, okay, it's a first date. I want to make the first impression. I'm going to dress a certain way. It's very intentional. Can we say that chemistry is a subconscious but visual perception of that body language? What do you think of that?
Is chemistry the perception of that body language?
Yes, because what I'm saying is
so the answer is yes and no.
Okay,
yes,
but 1 second.
Chemistry.
1 second. I'm sorry. I forgot to add one thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you. What I'm saying, perception, because visual perception, because I believe that we compare, we judge, we expect, and it's based on our experiences, our core values, our morals. And I want to insert that morals and manners hopefully go together here. Okay,
yes.
So go ahead.
Okay, so chemistry simply gives you a jump start, but it tends to be more emotional than rational. We are all a projection of images that we have for one another. Okay, so chemistry really helps. But body language also means being able to make eye contact. Looking into someone's eyes, you can see a lot. The eyes are truly the windows to the soul. It's also a matter of how the person reacts to a simple touch, how they react to when you move. I like the light and green analogy, because inside each person, the light is going to be, it's safe to move forward.
Okay.
You can make a person feel safe by the way your body chemistry is, by the way your posturing is. You can make them feel unsafe by interviewing them, asking them questions, folding your arms, and not being playful. Right. That's appropriate to the person you're dealing with.
Right, because sometimes some people are so, like, I've heard people say, he's so in my face. Like, I just met him. Why is he so close to me? And I'm like, I don't know.
Then your red light is your red flag, right?
Right, like you're not... Right, you're not feeling comfortable. You didn't already, like, sometimes you have to massage the situation and make the person feel comfortable before you're in their face.
And sometimes with the chemistry, they want you in their face as quick as you could get there.
Right. So Rori, talk to me a little bit about expectation. Do you think that expectation plays a role in finding your soulmate?
Oh, I mean, 100%. A lot of times I was just having this conversation earlier with someone where, they wanted someone who's Ivy educated. They wanted someone who's in great shape. They wanted someone who makes many figures, over six figures, but they weren't bringing any of that to the table. It's like, are you kidding? a lot of times, Dia, people think that this service or being, set up on a date is, well, look how rich I am. Let's say on the male side. And the woman's like, well, look how beautiful I am. And that's not everything. And that's not our business. Our business is all about equals, people who want to row the boat together, and both people who are healthy inside, healthy outside, that really want to be partners.
Okay. I'm glad you said that, Rori, because there's one thing that I always say. There's a difference in between feeling deserving and feeling entitled. A person who feels entitled will say, well, I deserve to be with that confident guy, but that person is not self-confident. She has arrogance about her. Mm-hmm. Or now when you're deserving, I believe one thing, when you actually get to the point that you know yourself enough and you feel deserving, something happened with your expectations. You lower your expectations. You're more likely to agree to disagree. You understand that people come as they are. So you're much more willing to compromise. I also believe that people tend to make a confusion between expectations and standards. You have to lower your expectations, but never your standards. And I think people get
never your values.
Yeah, they get desperate, and then they lower their standards, and then their expectations are up here, and you're going to be disappointed because it's not going to match. It's not going to match. Further, and you said something great. You said, you know what? You have to be the person you want to attract.
Exactly. Right? We say that all the time.
100%.
100%. Okay, Dr. Gluck.
I want to go back to your red light, green light, because I think it's perfect.
He's so fascinating.
I actually love it.
You like my robot.
Your red light, a woman's red light or a man's red light is an instinctual response that this doesn't fit. And people spend so much time trying to put a round peg in a square hole, and they just want to fit it because they want love so much. You know what? Take your time. If it's going to happen, you know it's going to happen because it fits really easy.
It's effortless.
And back to knowing thyself, this is exactly what that is. Look, no one is ever a final product, right? We're never going to be 100% complete, 100% sure, but confidence goes a long way. I think when you get to the place that you have, quote unquote, have arrived, you just sit and wait. I mean, for example, let me talk about myself for a second. I am divorced. I am confident being single. I feel that when the right person comes along, it'll flow. I don't worry. I don't chase. I'm not even dating because I feel that, you know what, somehow, some way, when the time is right, it'll happen. You arrive at that place as a receptor of love, and you stand by that belief. You don't compromise yourself. You're not eager to earn anything, but yet you're willing to learn that in that moment of your life, you are in the right space. And so you get busy with other things. You do more
so what
things
I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you what your eyes tell me.
He's going to profile you now.
I'm going to profile you a little bit. So look at my eyes. So the first thing that they tell me is that there's a tremendous amount of warmth and love there, but you are guarded. You keep things kind of deep in, and you don't put your cards on the table only as much as you need to. It tells me in your eyes that you've definitely loved, but you've definitely been hurt, but absolutely. You are a survivor, a good sense of yourself. It tells me that your inner circle is really small, and trust in your life, you don't give it away quite easy. You really have to earn it.
That is correct. Everything is correct. And the interesting part about this journey of life, right, is that what I feel is that once you arrive at this place, you are so much more open and so much more understanding. Everything you said is absolutely correct about me, which is, I'm not surprised at all, because I always tell people, I really don't know you until I lay my eyes on you. I need to meet the person. I love talking to people, connecting with them on, texting and all that, but it's not until I meet you and look at you that I can get a sense for who you are. You're very
You need the human connection.
Yes, absolutely.
Let me just say one thing. I'm available. We can finish this. He just has a patient now. He's like, you're running 10 minutes late.
Yeah. I just want to know that I think you're absolutely terrific, and I want to have another discussion with you at one point.
Yes, we will.
So I leave you to the best partner anyone can have.
Yes. Okay, we'll continue. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, Rori, so it's you and I. So I'm going to continue with the questions. I think this one, I will be able to ask you this question. It was a question for him, but you said that it takes 3 dates to actually know if you're going to continue to see that person, correct? So you think, okay, go out 3 times. Now you kind of got a feel for that person more or less, and you can decide if you want to go out from that point on. So tell us why this is so important, because a lot of people rush. I feel like we're pressured to rush into making the decisions, doing the first kiss, going out again to, you know what I mean? People get insecure.
Because everybody wants to already have, like, think about it. As women, right? People want to know, are we exclusive yet? Are we going to have that conversation? When are we going to have that conversation?
Okay.
And nobody's enjoying the whole journey, like the whole romance. Let's enjoy ourselves. Be excited for the first kiss. Whenever you want to talk about this, because this is something I'm a big believer in, a lot of times people will say, well, what's the big deal? Like, I'm in my 40s already. It's not like I'm a virgin. What's the big deal if I have sex on the first, second, or third date? I'm like, I'm not judging you, but like you said, you need to know yourself. Like, I want to make sure that if I'm sleeping with someone, they're not sleeping with anyone else. That's not something I respect myself. And at the end of the day, I always say, if you want a phone call in the morning, there needs to be a conversation before such intimate activities start to happen.
Now, let me tell you something that's interesting. And I want to ask you another question about that. I am currently actually in a program that is a marriage and family counseling certification program. It is powered by the American Association for Christian Counselors. So obviously I'm studying about the structure of a Christian-based relationship. There are 12 steps to marriage. The last 4 steps really very focused into marriage. Marriage being the starting point of physical intimacy. Now, I know that in modern day relationships, it's a little different. We're not saying that one is better than the other, but I wanted to get your input. And what do you think? How does this fit? The fact that you need to be emotionally intimate before you're physically intimate, right? And in the 100%. Book, Dr. Gluck actually says that. But how does that fit in a modern day setup? When like you said, there's such a rush. People they go to bed, they're physically intimate first, and then it's hard to build that emotional connection.
Right, because then they're going to figure it out, and then they're going to be like, well, now I'm physically connected. And especially, let's talk about if the physical relationship is so good and the chemistry is so there that we want to fit that square peg into that round hole, because we're enjoying the physical part of this relationship. We're enjoying the affection. We're enjoying the sex of it all. But we just don't have the same value system. Like, that's right. Like, why do we want to do that?
It's like you miss the steps, right? You miss the step to connect.
Exactly.
That way.
And then you're all sitting at the table of disappointment when it's not working out.
Right. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that, in your opinion, is it harder to date now in the way the world is today than it was before? And I don't mean last year. I mean like 60, 70 years ago.
I think it is much harder to date, because I think that there's sometimes, when we go, and I always used to like to use this as an example. I know when I go to a department store as opposed to a boutique, I'm overwhelmed. There's so many floors. There's so many things. Half the time I just walk out. I'm like, okay, I don't have the patience for this.
You and I are so much alike.
Right? And like, you go to a boutique and everything is just edited and curated for you. It's just easier to make up your mind. It's easier you're not.
You're breaking up a little bit. Hold on. We're a little bit frozen. Something happened. Just take a second. I think there's something. There you are. We had a little bit of a rebuffing, I think, with the connection, so it could broke up a little bit. But go. You're saying that that back.
There's too much choice,
because we missed a little bit of the.
Of course,
it was harder now.
It's harder now because, like I said, there's too much choice. All these apps, people are texting, people are emailing. it's just honestly like people, they're swiping right, they're swiping left, they're not giving anybody a real chance. And to me, the art of communication has been completely lost in this big tech world.
I agree with you. I want to say something, and I'm going to say it very gingerly, okay? Because I actually happen to believe, I think that culture supported morality back, and I said again, not last year, but 50, 60, 70 years ago. Culture had a direct impact on morality. I think we were much more affected from culture. And now everything, like you said, we're pushed to do more. Everybody wants instant gratification. They want to know. Now, use an example in the book that you actually connected a couple, and 2 days went by and your client was like, well, he didn't call me yet. When is he going to call me? So people get anxious. They feel like they have to earn something, right?
Exactly.
Which one are more likely, you think, to want to earn attention, a man or a woman or both?
I think that it really depends on the person, but because majority of the time the men are in the driver's seat, right? The man is usually the one to pursue. So I think that women, if they get anxious, well, if he's the one that's picking up the phone to call me, why didn't he call me? What's wrong with me? Did he not like me? He said he had a great time. He wants to see me again. So people start to doubt themselves instead of saying, like, to me, I look at it like, if at the end of the day, if it's easy, and it's something that just kind of naturally happens. Like when I dated my husband, it was honestly effortless. It was just, everything just was easy. It worked out. It was, I understood his language. He understood mine. I felt very comfortable with no judgment to say anything to him and vice versa. And it kind of just went, in a way that was just, like I said, effortless. And it was quick. We got to know each other for a year. We knew that this is what we wanted. We obviously had children, so it wasn't just him and I to bring into the mix. We needed to blend a family. And because we did it in a way that was so natural and it was so effortless, and it was like we really also knew each other's boundaries. And we knew that we had to respect those boundaries. Like, Zia, I tell people all the time, when you're having an argument with anyone, but especially your significant other, you don't hit below the belt. Because you know what? That's something you can never take back.
I want to talk to you about that. I was going to talk about something else, but I'm glad you touched on that subject because it actually was one of my questions. I think when we're thinking of compatibility, we're looking at different components, right? We're looking at a lot of things that make us be compatible. So when we spoke about your hint of old-fashioned in the book, I told you earlier that it made me think of the words, take your time. I think we either making the time or giving someone the time so that we, in the end, don't waste our time. Now you've collected the data, and the big question is, are we compatible? So when you talk about compatibility, what I believe is that there is something about the way that people connect, right? Because I think one of the two biggest issues with relationships, and that's based on my personal experience, is the fact that people have two different styles of not only arguing, or the way they resolve conflict, or a different style of apologizing. And let me explain that. Let me break it down so everyone who is watching can understand what I mean. When you have a different style of resolving conflict, for your husband, maybe he wants to go in his cave and be left alone, where you want to talk about it. So if you don't have a deep understanding of what each other's needs are, you're not going to be able to compromise or even agree to disagree. It becomes a problem, right? And when it comes to apologizing, I'll give you an example. Let's say you and I have an issue and you come to me and you say, Dea, I'm sorry, I was just stupid. I'm going to look at you and say, well, that's not an apology. That's kind of like, just brush it off. But if you said, Dea, I'm really so sorry. I'm so sorry that I hurt your feelings. I promise it won't happen again. Would you forgive me? That to me means the world.
Of
that
course.
says it all. But if people don't have an understanding of each other's style, they don't speak the same language, you're going to have an issue. If you're dating, you can walk away. But when you're married, hopefully you'll be able to work something out, and you need to understand that compatibility has that aspect. Can you tell us, give us some tools, what you recommend for couples that are having issues with learning each other's language and communicating in a way? What do you say to them?
There's actually, talking about books, there's a book that I live by, and I recommend it to everyone, not only clients, but just everyone, because it actually is a great way to connect with somebody, especially someone that you are in a romantic relationship with. It's The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman.
Yes, yes.
And it is fantastic.
I actually just watched a lecture with him on my course. It was an incredible lecture.
It's incredible. And it really makes so much sense.
Yes.
You know, I know, for example, my love language is physical touch.
My goodness, you and I are twins.
You know, so that's important to me because I love to be hugged, kissed, hold my hand. Like, that's my personality. I'm very warm with the person that I am. That's my significant other.
Yes.
So I need that. You know, everybody needs something else. You know, sometimes, you know, there's acts of service and there's gift giving and there's quality time. There's all all the different languages. But my husband and I happen to be in sync with affection is number 1 for both of us. And quality time is number 2. And words of validation is number 3.
That's mine.
And acts of service. And then gift giving is great.
Yes.
And I am a big gift giver. I love to, you know, buy gifts for people that I love. It's really like my pleasure. Like I always say, when I love hard. So you have to be able to be ready for that. And it doesn't mean that I'm a possessive person. My husband and I could share with you, we really both have our own lives, meaning he has his business, I have mine, but our family and all the things that we enjoy doing together, we really just make each other better people. And I think that one piece of advice that sticks out in my mind when people would say, well, they'll give me their situation and tell me, you think I should stick this out? Do you think I should, you know, move on? What do you think? And I say to them, if you know that you love who you are with this person in your life, like they just make you a better person every day, then that person's a keeper. Then that's a relationship that's worth fighting for.
Absolutely.
And I know when people have children, a lot of times people make those mistakes and they'll stay for the kids, but they don't realize the role model and the kind of person that I was when I was married to my ex-husband is not the same person I am today.
Right.
And it's not that he was, you know, he was bad or good. Maybe it just wasn't the right relationship for me. Right. Or I was not the right person for him to make him the better version of himself.
Right. You know, when I got divorced, you know, I read something that really impacted me. It said the tragedy is not the divorce. The tragedy is staying and teaching your children all the wrong things about love.
100%.
That really moved me. It moved it. And you know what? Actually, I love what you said about the love languages too. There is a book I mentioned to you that a marriage crisis coach that I know well by the name of Jeff Berkowski. He wrote a book called Wife Magnet. And in that book, he talks about how, you know, choose her over and over. I'm like you, little gestures. Sometimes it's a touch on the shoulder. That means you're choosing her. You're making the time. Learning the language of touch, for example, if your first language is touch, make an effort to concentrate on those needs. Come from, you know, she's in the kitchen cooking, go from behind, give her a hug. There's so many little things you can do. Leave a note or, you know, that are saying, I choose you. And he keeps saying, in order for you to have a lasting marriage, choose over and over. Not just you got married, now it's all good, and now you're not going to put any time. In the littlest and the smallest of things. I think it is so heartwarming. I love, and again, you know, if you're joining us now, I love this book. I really did. I really connected with it. I think that you guys did a wonderful job, even from your slightly different perspectives, to really emphasize what really is important in doing that, you know, making sure that you have a lasting relationship. I wanted to point out that your company, Platinum Pro, am I pronouncing this correctly? Platinum Pro.
Perfect.
Has a high success rate for happy and long-lasting relationships. So you guys really know what you're doing. I know that not everyone has access to that, right? Not everyone is. It's a elite company, but I do believe that you guys have such a great, have put so much in this book, not just with the things that we're talking about. There is so much more in here, and I hope everyone will make the time to read it because people need to hear this. They need to hear you. They need to hear this expression of you that is so natural. You are kind of sassy, but very classy and playful.
Thank you.
And I think it's so important that people connect with that because a lot of times when you say long-lasting relationships, people think, oh, it's too serious, it's too hard.
Exactly.
But you know, remember that we can be, if we are comfortable in our own skin, we are so much more likely to be open to learning And I think that it goes a lot with saying that you need to be open and relaxed, right? And have a little fun. Now, I'm going to pick your brain a little bit and kick it up a notch. True or false? Once a cheater, always a cheater.
False.
False. Okay. Tell me in what and how. Tell me. Okay. So we are talking about, okay, there's some people who make mistakes, right? But there are people who do this as a lifestyle. So
okay, then that's not okay. You know, I've spoken to many women and men too, but many women who didn't recognize who they were in their relationship because they're like, I'm not a cheater, I'm not a slut, that's not who I am. But obviously the person that was in their life was making them feel, was really devaluing them as human beings. And there's all kinds of abuse. I mean, there's from, you know, physical to mental, emotional. I'm not here to judge somebody because I'm really a big believer. I'm not the mattress. I'm really not. I'm not in their relationship. Do I ever think it ends well? Not really. But I think that if you get to a point that you feel that you can kind of, you know, head on that path, well, then I guess it's best to really say, honey, we need some therapy. And to be open and honest with that person to say, you're leading me in a direction that I don't want to go. And like I said, you're not liking who you are. So if this person has that capability, that's a problem. And either you really need to get help fast, because we all know that any relationship that starts out, you know, in an affair, 9 out of 10 times, and this is where you want to talk about my Jewish beliefs, I can talk about your Christian beliefs. And I think that we probably will agree.
Yes.
Any relationship that really starts on that footing, there's no blessing. So at the end of the day, that's just, you know, that's why religion, in some respect, right? It gives us boundaries. And boundaries are a good thing. We should all have boundaries.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we'd be just people with no value system. I mean, how does that work? And I wanted to also tell you, thank you so much for pointing out that you were saying how people should hear more from us. So I'm going to give you a little secret, a little sneak peek into what we're working on right now.
Okay.
Dr. Gluck and I actually are working on having an online workshop.
Oh, wow.
So it's something that where the book is actually going to be the guide.
Okay.
And when we do that, we're going to send you the first invitation, since you were so kind to have this live for us.
Oh, thank you.
And
oh my goodness.
It's going to be exciting. It's going to probably be like 10 sessions, like 10 classes. Person can subscribe, pay whatever the fee is. We're figuring that out now. And then twice a month, we're going to be able to connect with our Platinum Par community. And
wonderful.
It can be questions and any advice that people want. And obviously, that's included in the workshop.
Oh, that is such great news. You know, that is such great news. I really love it. I wanted to go back a little bit and talk to you about, I want to go back to compatibility a little bit. Because now that we're talking about, you know, if you're with a person and you start on the wrong path, when there is infidelity, obviously, you know, do you feel that, and I know for a fact that when you're trying to mend or repair a relationship, because obviously some people can make mistakes, I think a lot of people come broken in a certain way. You know, one of the questions that I was going to ask Dr. Gluck before he left was, I've noticed that with people that are, and this is going to be like a little bit going off on a tangent, but I've noticed in my lifetime, in my experiences with people, both men and women, young and old, whenever I meet a person that has trouble with emotional intimacy, being vulnerable, I notice there's a correlation with their family of origin, particularly with the father-daughter, father-son relationship. And I believe it's because the father, being the provider and the protector, when that protection factor gets shaken, the safety net tears up. And then the person becomes either a workaholic or they become emotionally disconnected. So they want to be with a lot of people at once. They're afraid of intimacy. And it's a way to sabotage themselves. You know, they don't know how to connect with people. Do you agree? Do you believe in that? Do you think?
I do.
I'm trying to find the answer to this. I've never really read it anywhere, but I always have a feeling that when I see someone with father issues, and they say daddy issues, but I think it's more about, okay, so some people, their father died when they were young. Or some people left their mother and didn't take care of the kids. Some people have abusive fathers, have been sexually molested by their fathers. Or the father has a drug addiction or they're alcoholic. all of those aspects of the life with the father in which the protection factor was broken, those people become almost emotionally inept.
Right. They become emotionally crippled, 100%. Yeah. And think about something. A lot of times we are attracted to what's familiar to us. So if our parents, let's say if we're talking about the dad, if the dad was an alcoholic, if the dad was abusive, even if the mom was an alcoholic on both ends, or a drug addict,
right?
We feel safe because we're like, that's what mommy was like. That's what daddy was like. Even though we know that that was not good for us. That was not good for the family. And people confuse that. That's why, is it luck when you meet your significant other? 100%. But there's also saying, when you're mature enough to realize that this is, even though mom or dad was like this was not healthy. This was very unhealthy. Okay. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to repeat those patterns.
I'm glad you said the word. I'm glad you said the word repeat, because my next point was everything that you're saying in this book really emphasizes that, you need to take care of yourself first. You need to be that person first. And I go back to something that I heard. I saw it on Instagram, and it says you either evolve or you repeat. And that's partially true, but they forgot to add that in order to evolve, evolving involves repetition. And let me explain why. You can repeat something and be afraid, like you said. A lot of people are afraid of getting better because it's easier, it's more familiar to be broken. So they stay in the pain, they repeat. But remember when, before we have DVDs, it was VCRs. My daughter, my oldest daughter, who's actually turning 33, believe it or not, she used to watch The Little Mermaid. I must have rewound that VCR 300 times. I heard that a child who is about 2 years old, when they watch something over and over, let's say they watched it 300 times, 300 different things they noticed in that time. So they process it something different every time. Now, hopefully we're not going to make the same mistake 300 times, but in order to evolve, number one, you need to make a decision that you want better for yourself. You have to say, I have to do better.
Right, but that's where the love comes from. You need to love yourself to know, you know what? I'm someone of value. I respect myself.
Exactly.
I tell women all the time, if you want to be respected, be respectable.
Right, exactly. And then in order for you to evolve, which is intentional, you're going to stumble and maybe make some mistakes, even repeat some things, right? Because it involves some repetition, but it's in a different way. You repeat it and you walk out of it and you say, well, this time I learned this. Well, this time I'm better at this. And, and eventually you get to the place where you finally make a move for yourself. You take a stand for yourself and you no longer make those mistakes. You're better at identifying the flags. I really believe that when it's intentional, when you really make a decision that you not only deserve to do better, but you're going to try harder, I think that somehow, eventually you overcome, not just override, because people override all the time. We sort of go into this survivor mode and you kind of just get by. It becomes more about, you can't just get by anymore. You have to get better. And I think that you learn how to overcome those issues.
Well, the problem is also, don't you notice, people who settle, they're going to say, you know what? I'm such and such age. It's time to get married. I mean,
they lower their standards, right?
They lower their standards.
Right.
And it's so sad, because I always believe in, why settle for less when you can settle for more? Right. If you genuinely love yourself, like I said before, and you really think that you deserve, like we both said before, it's not about being entitled. Okay. It's about saying, this is what I want, and going after it. It's very interesting, because a lot of times, I don't know in your life if you felt like you've been the one who's been chosen, like a man has chosen you, or you chose that person. Think about that for a second, because as women, oftentimes we are the ones that get chosen. A man asks us out on a date. They ask us to be exclusive. They ask us to get married. The next thing we know, we're knocked up and pregnant and having a whole family with this person, right?
Tell me about it. I have 5 children.
Right. So exactly.
Right.
I've always been a person who was very assertive. Like, I always knew what I wanted, or thought I knew what I wanted. And growing up, there was part of me, I got married very young the first time. I was 22. And I was divorced at 25 and remarried at 27. And the first time, I chose. I was excited for this person. I really like, but it was all about all the wrong things. You know, I was young, I was immature. It was about how handsome he was and how good it makes me look to be on his arm. But at the end of the day, that's not real life. You know, that's very high school and college. That's not what makes a marriage and a relationship. The second time around, however, although it was a blind date, even though the person chose me, but it was reciprocal, meaning once I met my husband and it was completely a blind date, I really didn't know much about him except the fact that we were of the same faith and that we both were married and divorced and we come from culturally the same background. I didn't ask many questions. Why? Because it was my gynecologist who set me up. Don't laugh about that. Okay. And I was just so flattered that he thought of me after he knew that I went through a little bit of a hard time.
I'm looking at the time because I think it only gives us an hour. So I wanted to give you an opportunity, but go ahead. I think we're getting close to an hour, believe it or not.
I know, it was quick.
It was quick. Go ahead.
Time flies when you're having fun, Danielle, let me tell you.
I'm going to, just so everyone knows, once we're done with this, if it cuts us off, I will put all of your handles on. I wanted people to know about your podcast as well. So I'll put the handles on the comments so people can see. The actual video will be posted on my YouTube channel. I'm going to let you continue, but I want to say, if you guys want to follow my journey and see more interviews, follow me at Daya Ministry. Also on my YouTube channel, Daya Music Ministry -DMM. Okay, Rory, back to you. So tell us.
What I'm trying to say is that, you know, it's just, we all think sometimes like we have the perfect checklist. We want what we want. We're not open. We think we know it all. Well, you know what? We don't.
We don't.
And when you're single and you want to meet someone, be open. Right. You really never know. Be open, be positive, be happy, because what you think about, you bring about.
Exactly.
And I live by that.
Now, did I see while I read the book, there was a trilogy?
Well, we're working on that.
Okay, because I was like, oh, what? There's going to be more? I was super excited because, like I said, I'm a bookworm. So this was like great news for me. I am so glad that you guys are going to do this workshop because I think that I really believe that what you have is very powerful. I was so surprised that there is such a beauty in the style of this book. You know, it is warm. It is, I like the hint of old fashioned personally, but that's because of my background. But even if people aren't as old fashioned, if they're more modern and more open, they will still get a lot out of this book. So I want everyone to get this book, run and get this book and read it. Rory, I know we're going to get cut off in 2 minutes. So I wanted to give you an opportunity for tell everyone where they can find you, where they can buy the book, etc.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, let me just, share my gratitude to you for having me on and supporting us. It was really so generosity of spirit. And you definitely possess that characteristic. And Dr. Gluck and I really appreciate taking the time. That's first of all. Second of all, you guys can buy the book on Amazon.com. It's the Art of the Date.
Yes.
And you can, if you want to, anybody wants to follow me on Instagram, it's Rori Sassoon, very simple. And I also have a podcast that's not as heavy as this conversation today, a little bit lighter, called Let's Get Raw with Rori.
It's so fun. I'm hooked.
And we interview all kinds of people, celebrities, pop culture, people who are just, whether they're famous or not, it doesn't matter. It's just people sharing their stories, because at the end of the day, we're all human and we all crave human connection. So it doesn't matter, celebrity or not, everybody has a story to tell and everybody should have love and be loved.
Okay, so I think we're going to get cut off right at 1 hour. So thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we'll catch you soon. I'd love to speak with you again and stay in touch.
Absolutely.
Thank you again. And thank you everyone for joining us. Have an amazing weekend.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, guys.